If you read just one book this year, make it this one. Most people spend years making mistakes that could be completely avoided in just 10 minutes. In this video, we're unlocking the core lessons from The Calamity Club by Catherine Stockett. The Calamity Club is a dual narrative historical novel set in Mississippi in 1933, during the Great Depression, alternating between the voices of 11-year-old orphan Meg, Margot Leaflear, and 24-year-old Birdie Calhoun. The novel explores poverty, institutional cruelty, eugenics-era prejudice, sisterhood, and female resilience, weaving together two seemingly separate stories that ultimately intertwine. Meg's story. Meg has spent nearly 2 years at the Lafayette County Orphan Asylum in Oxford, Mississippi, after being found starving and alone in an abandoned cotton field house by Dr. Welty Pittman. Her mother, Charlie, vanished one winter day and never returned, leaving 9-year-old Meg to fend for herself through a brutal cold snap, burning furniture and books for warmth, eating rotten food, and eventually collapsing before Welty rescued her. At the orphanage, Meg is tormented by Chairlady Garnet Pittman, Welty's wife, who inexplicably singles her out for cruelty, isolating her in a moldy, boarded-up office, pulling her from school, calling her dirty and filthy, and planning to send her to a canning factory work program once she turns 12. Only Meg's fierce wit, imagination, and friendship with fellow orphan Ava, who taught her the painful mantra, "Mamas do not come back," sustain her. When Birdie Calhoun arrives to help with the orphanage's bookkeeping, she befriends Meg, sneaking her biscuits, cleaning the moldy office, and treating her with genuine warmth. At the next View Day, Adoption Day, a wealthy young couple, Tom and Lucille Heidelberg, unexpectedly select Meg instead of an infant, though they had actually been given money by Tom's mother, Isabel, to adopt a baby from a reputable Memphis agency. They lie to their family, claiming they adopted Meg from that agency, to hide that they pocketed the leftover funds. Life with the Heidelbergs initially seems idyllic. Tom, a sensitive, unemployed aspiring novelist, teaches Meg to swim and treats her with real tenderness, while Lucille is volatile, alcoholic, and resentful of her diminished social status after being cut off from her in-laws' financial support. Meg navigates the family's secrets, including being coerced into spying on Lucille's drinking for Isabel Heidelberg. Eventually, Isabel discovers the adoption lie and Tom's gambling debts, and the family is cut off entirely from financial support. Devastated by failure, his unpublishable novel, his father's disappointment, his own alcoholism, Tom drowns himself in the lake where he once taught Meg to swim. Lucille, now widowed and paid off by Isabel to leave, abandons Meg, who is to be sent back to the orphanage. Meanwhile, unbeknownst to Meg, her birth mother Charlie has been desperately searching for her. Charlie reveals a harrowing backstory. She had an affair as a teenager with Welty Pittman, before his marriage to Garnett, and Meg is actually his biological daughter. After Welty rejected her, Charlie later married and was raising Meg alone until an incident at a train station. She was falsely arrested for consorting with a black man, led to her being declared feeble-minded through Garnett's influence and forcibly sterilized at a state institution. Released after 2 years, Charlie has been trying to reclaim her daughter ever since, aided by Birdie. Birdie's story. Birdie Calhoun, plain-spoken and sharp-tongued, travels from her impoverished hometown of Footley to Oxford to visit her younger, prettier sister Frances, who married banker Rory Tart and never invited her family to the wedding. Birdie's family, her mother, Doris, and grandmother, Meemaw, are behind on property taxes and need financial help. While staying at the Tarts' grand home, Idlewild, Birdie discovers that Rory has secretly lost the family fortune through reckless investments and been fired from the bank. Rory eventually steals the family's valuables and disappears, leaving his wife Frances and mother-in-law Mrs. Tark, Victoria, financially devastated and facing foreclosure. While Frances and Mrs. Tark travel to Jackson searching for Rory, Birdie remains behind and befriends Charlie, who has come to Oxford seeking help finding Meg. Desperate to raise money quickly to pay off Mrs. Tart's mortgage and support Charlie's plan to reclaim Meg, the two women, along with a colorful cast of women including former prostitute Flossie, the volatile Ruby, elegant Esmeralda, twins Trixie and Dixie, and idealistic medical student Virginia, who runs makeshift STD testing, transform Idlewold's backyard into what starts as a legitimate dance club but becomes a full-fledged, illegal brothel catering largely to University of Mississippi students. The operation is fraught with danger. Garnett Pittman, now president of the state's Anti-Vice League, is actively raiding similar establishments, including a rival brothel run by Priscilla, and the local sheriff's suspicious behavior looms as a constant threat. Amid this chaos, Birdie falls in love with Jack Walsh, a banker auditing the Bank of Lafayette County, despite learning he's married, though separated and seeking divorce. She reveals to him that she cannot have children due to childhood illness, fearing rejection, but Jack reaffirms his love and plans to relocate permanently to Oxford. Meanwhile, Rory is discovered in Biloxi, arrested after a drunken car accident, and ultimately agrees to check himself into a hospital for treatment of his homosexuality as part of a plea deal, a decision Frances supports, still clinging to denial about her marriage. When Frances and Mrs. Tart return home unexpectedly, Birdie and Charlie must keep the brothel operation hidden from them, eventually recruiting Frances, blackmailed by the prostitutes, to help distract Mrs. Tart. Remarkably, Mrs. Tart discovers the truth but chooses to allow the operation to continue for the final nights, prioritizing financial survival over propriety. Her mortgage debt, it turns out, has already been quietly forgiven by the bank through Jack's intervention. The women split substantial profits, giving each participant, including Charlie, enough money to start over. Convergence and resolution. The two storylines converge dramatically. Isabel Heidelberg, devastated by her son Tom's suicide and unable to care for Meg, contacts Welty Pittman to arrange Meg's return to the orphanage. Welty, confronted by Charlie at the brothel, unaware of its true nature, is forced to reckon with his abandonment of both Charlie and his daughter years earlier. Moved by Charlie's fury and grief, and having learned of Garnett's cruelty toward Meg at the orphanage, Welty finally takes a stand. He arranges for Birdie, rather than Garnett, to collect Meg from the Heidelbergs and return her to Charlie's custody. In the final act, Birdie and Frances rush to the orphanage to stop Garnett from reclaiming Meg. Confronting Garnett directly, Birdie and Frances expose the truth about Welty's affair with Charlie and Meg's true parentage, using this leverage, along with threats to expose Garnett to the Anti-Vice League she now leads, to force Garnett to back down. Welty, present for the confrontation, finally asserts his legal authority as Meg's father and insists Charlie be allowed to take her. The novel concludes with a joyful, cathartic reunion. Charlie arrives at the Heidelberg estate to collect Meg herself, embracing her daughter for the first time in years and explaining, at last, that she never abandoned her intentionally. Meg, initially disbelieving, ultimately accepts her mother's return, and the two drive off together toward a new life, away from the institutional cruelty and abandonment that have defined Meg's childhood. Throughout, the novel critiques the real historical horrors of Depression-era Mississippi's eugenics movement, forced sterilization laws, orphanage abuses, and the intersecting vulnerabilities of poor women, using Meg's innocent, darkly humorous narration and Birdie's wry, morally complicated perspective to illuminate both the injustices of the era and the fierce bonds of blood, friendship, and chosen family that allow women to survive and protect one another against overwhelming odds. The book closes on a note of hard-won hope. Institutions and men have failed these women repeatedly, but their solidarity and resourcefulness ultimately triumph, culminating in Meg being reunited with the mother who never stopped searching for her. If this summary saved you hours of reading and gave you real value, hit the subscribe button right now. Leave a comment below letting us know which book you want to see next. And if you want to keep growing your mind, click the video appearing on your screen right now. See you in the next 10 minutes.